Analysis is the first step in stakeholder management, and it's an important process that successful people use to win support from others. Stakeholders are individuals and organizations who are actively involved in your project or whose interests may be positively or negatively affected as a result of project execution or successful project completion. The purpose of stakeholder analysis is to outline the key stakeholders and their needs at the start of the project. It is important to have a clear understanding of each stakeholder and what they expect, especially because stakeholders' needs and expectations may collide with each other or with the project's core requirements. Here are 4 reasons you should use stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis can help you to get your project into shape. You can use the opinions of your most powerful stakeholders to help define your project at an early stage. These stakeholders will then more likely support you, and their input can also improve the quality of your project. Stakeholder analysis is useful for gaining support from powerful stakeholders. This support can help you to win more resources such as people, time, or money. This makes it more likely that your projects will be successful. It is useful for building understanding. By communicating with your stakeholders early and often, you can ensure that they fully grasp what you're doing and understand the benefits of your project. This means that they can more actively support you when necessary. Stakeholder analysis is also useful for getting ahead of the game. Understanding your stakeholders means that you can anticipate and predict their reactions to your project as it develops. This allows you to plan actions that will more likely win their support. How do you conduct a stakeholder analysis? Here are 3 steps to follow. Number 1, you need to identify your stakeholders. Start by brainstorming who your stakeholders are. As part of this, think of all the people who are affected by your work, who have influence or power over it, or have an interest in its successful or unsuccessful conclusion. Stakeholders can be both organizations and people, but ultimately you must communicate with people. So be sure to identify the correct individual stakeholders within a stakeholder organization. Secondly, you must prioritize your stakeholders. You need to work out the stakeholders' power, influence, and interest so that you know who you should focus on. From the list of people and organizations that are affected by your work, some of these may have the power either to impede that work or to advance it. Some may be interested in what you are doing, while others might not care. So you need to work out who you need to prioritize. You can use a power interest grid like this to classify your stakeholders according to their power over your work and their interest in it. The position that you allocate to a stakeholder on the grid shows you the actions you need to take with them. High power, highly interested people must be managed closely. You must fully engage with these people and make the greatest efforts to satisfy them. High power, less interested people should be kept satisfied. Put enough work in with these people to keep them satisfied, but not so much that they become bored with your message. Low power, highly interested people should be kept informed. Adequately inform these people and talk to them to ensure that no major issues are arising. People in this category can often be very helpful with the detail of your project. Low power, less interested people should be monitored. Again, monitor these people, but don't bore them with excessive communication. Your boss, for example, is likely to have high power and influence over your project and high interest in them. Your family, however, may have high interest in them but won't have power over them. The third step in conducting a stakeholder analysis is to understand your key stakeholders. You now need to discover how your key stakeholders feel about your project. You also need to work out how best to engage them and how to communicate with them. And here are some questions you can consider. What financial or emotional interests do they have in the outcome of your project? Is it positive or negative? What motivates them most of all? What information do they want from you? And what is the best way of communicating with them? What is their current opinion of your work? Is it based on good information? Who influences their opinions generally? And who influences their opinion of you? Do some of these influences therefore become important stakeholders in their own right? If they aren't likely to be positive, what win them around to support your projects? If you don't think that you'll be able to win them around, how will you manage their opposition? Who else might be influenced by their opinions? Do these people become stakeholders in their own right? You can even consider asking your stakeholders these questions directly. People are often quite open about their views, and asking for their opinion is often the first step in building a successful relationship with them. As the work you do and the projects you run become more important, you will affect more and more people. Some of these people have the power to undermine your projects and your position. Others may be strong supporters of your work. Stakeholder management is the process by which you identify your key stakeholders and win their support. Stakeholder analysis is the first stage of this, where you identify and start to understand your most important stakeholders. The first stage of this is to brainstorm who your stakeholders are. The next step is to prioritize them by power and interest and to plot this on a power interest grid. The final stage is to get an understanding of what motivates your stakeholders and how you need to win them around. Best wishes with stakeholder management and analysis.